So for the first time since 2008, the ACC Atlantic Division was won by a school that was not Clemson or Florida State. And for the first time since 2014, it was won by not Clemson. But the Clemson Tigers do lead us off as they have the highest win total in the division and the highest win total in the conference. Clemson's win total pulled from Caesar Sportsbook this Monday morning at 10.5, minus 115 to the over, minus 115 to the under. The non-conference does include a very, very fun November trip to South Bend to play Notre Dame. Those Clemson-Notre Dame games have given us some classics in recent years. The rest of it, pretty manageable. We got Furman, we got Louisiana Tech, and, of course, the season finale against South Carolina, but Shane Beamer does have to come to Death Valley. That's also where Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes, probably the toughest conference foe on the schedule, one of the toughest conference foes on the schedule. That game is going to be at home. NC State, another candidate for the toughest conference game. That game is going to be at home. So with an over-under win total of 10.5, again, minus 115 to either side, what are our thoughts on the Clemson Tigers as they look to rebound from a down year of 10-3 in 2021?
Does anybody have a strong play on this?
No.
I'm not in like my best. I'm not going to do Bud's voice, but like the Bud line, I'm not rushing to bet this. You know, like I'm not rushing to bet this, but my lean is over because I don't see for sure 2 losses. I feel pretty confident that there's probably 1 loss out there, but even I apologize if I've repeated this, but even average quarterback play gets Clemson to 12-0 or 11-1. They had the DJ Uiagalelei had the worst passer efficiency rating in the entire ACC, 9 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, just absolutely horrendous. And so even just getting back to average level Power 5 quarterbacking with the defense that's this good, they have 6 defensive linemen that I think would start almost anywhere, and they're going to be rotating those bodies in and out. I think that the shakeups on the staff don't change my power rating of them much. They got 2 great running backs in Will Shipley and Kobe Pace. I think that just being a 2011 SEC team where you've got a defense of NFL dudes and an offense that just manages the game, I think that gets them a win against most of the opponents on this schedule. So I just don't see 10-2, and so I feel strong, but like again, the Bud Elliott line, I'm not rushing to bet this.
Yeah, I feel more bullish when I hear you talk and I look at how good they lost to Georgia by a pick 6. That was the difference in them and the national champion. And yet we saw how bad it got. Overtime against NC State, and they're a 1-loss team last year what the worst quarterback play in the ACC. Is that safe to say? And that's not a knock on, it's just a fact.
Certainly at the bottom, yeah.
I mean, it was awful when you watched it. And so here's the 1 of 2 things are going to happen. Either Dabo's right and DJ's back, or I think they go to Cade Klubnik. But I think either way, the quarterback play will improve. The one big unknown for me is the Brent Venables loss. That has been a constant for that defense, which is a big reason they were able to go 9-3 in the regular season last year, was because their defense played such a big role in it. But like you mentioned, they got a lot of dudes on the front 7 that are still just as dominant. I had them. So the only reason I do think their schedule is kind of tricky, but the games that I have as toss-ups, who do I trust more? Notre Dame, Miami, even Wake and NC State. So those were the 4 games I had as even, I don't want to say toss-ups, but what do you think the point spread will be on those, Bud?
On which ones?
On those at Wake Forest, they'll still probably be pretty significant, right?
They'll be double digits at Wake Forest, I think.
What about NC State at home?
Probably a touchdown.
Yeah, so
maybe
that
6.
one was maybe an iffy, but they're still going to be favored in all their games. I just don't see them. So I'm on the over. I guess I'm not rushing to bet it, but I feel better about saying it. I feel good about it, but I wouldn't load up the house on this thing.
Yeah, I'm on the over too, but I don't have much confidence at all in it. I'm not rushing to bet it. I'm not betting it at all. And not only am I not rushing, I'm not moving to bet it. And I think, we talk about it a lot. When it comes to Texas A&M, we talk about one of the things that always concerns us about them is the lack of the explosive plays, particularly in the passing game. Well, like Clemson last year ranked 122nd nationally in explosive pass rate. Northwestern was ahead of Clemson. And I expect that will improve this year. I feel like it almost has to. They were just that bad. Like when you're down there with Northwestern, Syracuse, Ball State, Rutgers, Indiana, New Mexico, those teams, it's not great. But my concern, like Danny, you said, defensively, like this is a team last year that won 10 games because its defense was just too damn good to let it lose a lot. And I still think the defense is going to be too damn good to let it lose too much. But will there be any kind of drop off without Venables there? Will they maintain? Will they improve? I don't know. That's a question mark that I just typically haven't had with Clemson in recent years. Maybe the offense gets better with a new play caller coming in. So there's a question mark I haven't had. I just think that when I look at this team talent wise and schedule wise, I think they're the best team in the conference. I think that if you look at the schedule, like you said, Danny, they're going to be favored in just about every game, probably except for maybe at Notre Dame, depending on how the Irish look at that point. But they can trip up and go 10-2. They could go 9-3, but I just think I don't have much confidence in this either way. I'm kind of going over by default just because it's Clemson.
I'm right there with you. My numbers actually say this is a slight under, but it's not something that I'm playing at this point. I'm not often playing 10.5 to the over unless your name is Bama, Ohio State, or back when Boise really didn't play anybody, Boise. What position do you think that they're going to be worse at this year? I have to feel that quarterback will likely be better. I think running back should be better. I mean, Will Shipley is a year older. I think Justin Ross was sort of a shell of his former self last year when he came back. And I have some confidence that they'll be better at receiver as well. And importantly here, I think Clemson has a greater diversity of bodies who are now ready to play. Not everybody is 6'4", 210 trying to play the XY and your slot stuff. So I'm kind of encouraged by that. You get 4 starters out of 5 back on the offensive line. So that's encouraging. And I'm playing around here with the defense, and I don't think the defense can be better than it was last year because they do have significant losses in the back 7 with Skalski and Spector, and you lose some corners who are pretty damn good. But Tyler Davis only played 300 snaps last year, guys. Brzee got banged up for a long stretch. So you get those 2 dudes who I think are NFL dudes back. I'm very confident this defense will still be damn good. I think West is a great hire. I'm a little concerned that they promoted from inside, promoted from within on offense. Like that offense last year, I thought schematically was poor. Look at how they did on standard downs, right? And Conley always talks about, hey, if you're bad on standard downs, that could be more coaching. If you're bad on passing downs, that probably comes down to who you have athletically. Like when everybody knows you got to pass, can you do it? They were horrendous on early downs, and I wonder if they can be a little more creative this year. But also if the quarterback play will allow them to do that. They really were pretty poor on the things that you would think would help a quarterback maybe steal some yards on early downs. If I had, like, you probably can't say gun to the head anymore. If I had to bet this, I'm going over just because who blocks them?
Right.
Okay, NC State and maybe Notre Dame. Other than that, they should tear up every offensive line they play.
It's why the Wake Forest game is always so sideways. Wake Forest as a team is one of the best teams in the ACC, but specifically with the Clemson game, the reason why it's gone the Tigers' way over and over and over and over again is because that offensive line just gets thrown into the backfield. You can't have a long mesh point to freeze the linebacker or whoever you're going to be keyed in on if all of a sudden here comes Brian Brzee or Tyler Davis and you're sticking your little paw into the mesh point to scoop the ball out. Like it is an advantage that, like, shocking. Like, Dabo's an old school coach. That guy is like, he's a capital F football guy, and he believes that they've got a great defensive line. We're just going to let that group go and win those games. And there's, like you said, Bud, there's not a lot of offensive lines that are going to be prepared for it.
I can't get this out of my mind now that after you said it, but I'm thinking of Clemson as modern underwear commercials, and there's a greater diversity of bodies.
We're like it's
Clemson sponsored by Dove.
Yeah.
Body positive.
Body types for every receiver.
Yeah, Clemson's offense is really body positive right now. I would say that I think Bo Collins, who's flashed at times, could be really, really good in terms of bringing more to that passing attack. And the off-field name that I've got circled, who I don't want to extend too much credit or blame here, But Kyle Richardson is somebody who was a big-time South Carolina high school football coach. Then he came and he's been working around the program, held a couple analyst roles, and he was promoted to pass game coordinator and tight ends coach within this big shakeup. Brandon Streeter, of course, we know has been the quarterback's coach. He gets elevated to the new offensive coordinator. But are there other voices in that meeting room that are also taking on new responsibility that allow us to see some new wrinkles that maybe we didn't see from the Jeff Scott and Tony Elliott co-coordinator era? So, just something to keep an eye on if we do start to see a little bit of a change in the way that Clemson handles its business. So 4 overs from the Cover 3 podcast, but no one is rushing to bet it.